Well, good evening and welcome to the Take Shape for Life Habits of Health call. I'm Shirley Mast. I'm a certified health coach with Take Shape for Life, and it is my pleasure to host the call for you this evening. Now, if this is your first time joining the Habits of Health call, a special welcome to you. This call is for all Take Shape for Life clients and coaches and health professionals, so you might hear comments or questions from all of the above. And if you don't fit in one of those categories, and you're just simply interested in learning more about our program and how to create better health, you are warmly welcome too. Now, you might hear content that is geared towards those that are in the weight loss phase of their health journey, those that are in transition, and those that are in the optimization phase, those that are moving on towards a lifetime of optimal health. Take Shape for Life offers excellent tools and support for weight loss, but we also have a lot to offer for anyone who's looking for better health in any area of life. But for those of you that are in the weight loss phase, maybe you're on our 5-in-1 structured meal plan, be sure to follow the guidelines that have been set up for you as guided by your free health coach. Now, for those of you that are listening to the recording later, we are so glad you've taken the time, but we invite you to join us live the next time to be part of the discussion. These Habits of Health calls are held every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, we are looking forward to a really great evening this evening. I'm going to kind of run through the preliminary things pretty quickly at the beginning because I'm awfully excited about what we have coming up this evening. Just by way of introduction, let me just do a brief introduction for those of you that haven't had a chance to meet my husband Cliff or I yet. My husband Cliff and I are certified health coaches, but I was first a Take Shape for Life client. And when I came to this program, it was at the urging of my physician who said, you've got to take a look at this program. And at that point, I weighed close to 400 pounds and my health was at a pretty desperate place. Now, I'm not going to take a lot of time with my story tonight, but the part that you need to know is that not only have I lost the weight, but because of the support of my health coach and because of the program created by the man you're going to meet tonight, I am at a place where I don't have to be afraid that that weight is ever coming back. I've lost 215 pounds with Take Shape for Life, and I'm coming up on a 4-year anniversary for that. So that's just a little bit of my backstory. But more importantly, the part that I'm really excited about this evening is introducing to you Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson. He is our medical director and co-founder of Take Shape for Life. He is a New York Times bestselling author of Discover Your Optimal Health. He is the nation's 10th board-certified critical care physician, and I could go on through his credentials. But this evening, I really want to give you the opportunity to interact with him specifically related to the substantial amount of work that he's done in helping people create better health. Dr. A has devoted his career to helping people create optimal health through a comprehensive approach, helping people to make health the centerpiece of their lives. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. A completely in a moment, but I know that some of you have come with questions regarding the habits of health that you'd like to ask Dr. A. And if that's the case, I want to give you the opportunity to do that. If you want to be able to text in your questions. And you may have a question about how you can create long-term lifestyle change, or maybe you have another related question. So if you'd like to ask a question, use the chat box to text me. I have a little picture up now that'll show you how to access that. And text me to say that you have a question regarding whatever it is. Or if you're shy and you want me to ask the question on your behalf, I can do that if you just text the complete question to me. But in either case, be sure to select me when you're sending the text so that it doesn't get texted to everyone. Now, those of you that are listening in on the phone, you unfortunately are in listen-in mode. So if you're looking at your phone trying to figure out how to text me, that's not going to work very well, but I'm really glad you've joined us. All right, Dr. A, the room is all yours. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight.
Well, my pleasure. We're going to get that shared off so I can really see everybody. That'd be good. Cool.
There you go.
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you, Shirley, and thanks everyone for coming on tonight. I'm excited. I love any opportunity I have to help people maybe awake a little more to what's possible, and then start to give them maybe some ideas of how they can improve their health and their life. And Shirley talked about a lot in the beginning there, and one of the key things is you may be overweight, you may be obese, you may have other health issues. You may just be looking for something to have more fun with, but the whole reality is what takes Shape for Life and what we do on the Habits Health call is we focus on moving people forward to kind of start understanding what's necessary to create long-term success in their life. And one of the things I've been saying for 15 years now is a critical care physician, is one of the first board-certified intensivists in the country. I dealt with taking care of disease for many, many years and reacting to all the bad choices people had made. And one of the first things I did when I realized that I needed to move upstream and help other people create health was that we needed to help people reach a healthy weight. Other than cigarette cessation, smoking cessation, reaching a healthy weight is the most important thing you can do to help improve dramatically your health, and also be there to help others in your family and your friends become healthy. And when I really looked at the data was pretty startling. 85% of people that lose weight gain it back within 2 years. So if you're listening tonight as someone that's dieted many times before and failed or gained your weight back, that's normal. That's really basic. No, it's part of being a human being. Because diets by themselves don't work long term because they don't address the underlying problem. The problem is that what we do is we make choices that don't support long-term health. And what we're doing, we're using our design of conserving and storing energy. And as a result of that, how we were designed 10,000 years ago, and now every day, day in and day out, we're pretty successful at finding food. In fact, 10,000 years ago, you'd get your spear and go out and start looking for something, or have a big basket and look to find some berries. But I can tell you, and the probability sometimes is you'd starve. So our bodies evolved to really be really good at storing fat. And also we started developing things like wheels and other transport mechanisms, so we didn't have to do as much. But I'll tell you, today we do very little. And unfortunately, if you're looking and you're hungry, I tell you, you go to your refrigerator, you have a 100% chance of bagging some food when you open that door. So with that, we need to change. And so what I would say tonight, and I want to open it up for questions, that's really how we gain the most from these calls, is from asking questions and listening to other people, is that if you make a decision that, you know what, I do want to get healthy, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I want to change my health and change my life, we have an opportunity to be part of something that can get that done. And how it gets it done is we approach all the things that are necessary, not just how you move, how you sleep, how you handle stress, but also what you're eating, how you're eating it, who you're eating it with, what environment you're in. Do you have a support structure? Do you have people to help you? Do you have some tools and strategies and skills to help you? And all these things together would make the difference, because trying to do it on your own, to go alone in the obesogenic world we live in, is very, very difficult. And I've been doing this for 15 years, helped tens of thousands, probably way over 100,000 people create health in their life now. And I got to tell you, we're getting pretty good. There's the 10,000 hours you might have read, which it takes to really understand it and become an expert in an area. And that expertise comes from observing so many people that have struggled trying to do it as a diet or trying to do it with exercise. And alone, it's very difficult to be successful. But together, and that's the whole idea, Shirley's story is very duplicatable now. People that apply the habits of health and the comprehensive system, not only do they reach a healthy weight, and it may take them some time, and they may have, success isn't a straight line, by the way. We're going to have variations in that, and it takes time to become successful. But the reality is, when you're part of this community, since that's our focus and our orientation, when you're focused on where you want to go and what you want to have happen, just like you are when you were a little girl or a little boy and you wanted that dress or you wanted that bicycle, you got that, right? You made sure you got it because you wanted it. Well, our goal is to really have that fire inside of you to want to be healthy, burn so bright, and then help be part of that solution with you to give you the things that are necessary. So Shirley, I just want to do that as a little overview, and I'd love to open it up for questions.
Well, they are a shy bunch, Dr. A. I haven't gotten any yet, but I think they're probably working on it. They were waiting to hear what you had to say. While they're sending their questions in, or at least letting me know that they have a question. If you just text me and let me know you have a question, I'll call on you. But here's one thing for you to I'd love to hear your feedback on this, Dr. A, because it is a question that I hear a lot from people, and they'll talk about, you mentioned that diets don't work. We all know that's true. How would you, what would you say to somebody who starts our program and says, okay, I don't want to repeat what I've done before. I don't want this to be a diet where I lose the weight and put it back on. How do I do it differently this time so that I really can see long-term success?
Listen to your coach, follow the blueprint, you'll be successful. The Habits of Health is a systematic approach of first reaching a healthy weight And during that period, in the first couple of weeks, as you start losing weight, you're feeling better, you have more energy, you're now burning fat, which is what we're trying to get rid of. I was just interviewing a lady just before this call, and she was talking about being a culinary chef out in California, and she said she had really bad arthritis in her hands and in her joints, and she was going to work with one of her coaches to make some lean and green meals. And she said, well, you know, I really need to go on your program so I feel authentic. And so she did, and she realized, and obviously we're not making medical claims, we're just stating the facts, that this lady found that her discomfort in both her hands and her feet were better, in her back. She was able to go with some friends down in Mexico and climb one of the ancient pyramids. Friends say, hey, it's a shame you can't do this, you know, we'll be back in just a little bit. She goes, heck, she, like a gazelle, she ran up the pyramids, which were very uneven. And so that's where it starts. It starts with you having little bitty successes, little bitty baby steps. And as you have that, you're going to work with this comprehensive approach. That approach includes now putting you in a community, our health community. Just this call is part of our virtual clinic. It's a free way we actually get you on to learn more about what we're doing, get your questions answered, and have you here to be part of it. As you become more successful, you actually become part of the solution, because as you share your stories of your successes, it helps us then help others who may be suffering from the same areas. So even you as a potential client going on this program, you're actually become part of this community. Number two, the habits of health I've built over the last 15 years from observation as being a scientist and being a physician, built that around what are the things people can actually do. The third part is rather trying to do it as a diet. The dieting part is simply changing your orientation towards food. We use meal replacements in the front end because it's easy. They're goof-proof. It doesn't cost anything more than regular food. You'll lose a significant amount of weight relatively quickly. And as you're losing that weight, it creates that teachable moment. You're now feeling better. You have more energy. You say, wow, it makes a difference. And that's actually what I talked to the lady that is the chef. I said, you know, now take how much better you feel and start thinking that if you make the choices of the habits of health moving forward, you work with your coach, you start listening to his calls for support, for not just inspiration, but more importantly, really day-to-day information that can help you. And you follow forward with us and you actually change your mindset towards what you want to bring into being versus what you want to get away with. I would bet for those that have dieted before, what they were trying to do is get away from something they didn't want, which is their excess weight. We're not interested in getting rid of your excess weight as a primary focus. That is a secondary focus as a result of making the decision that you want to create health in your life. When you create health in your life, that is very generative. If you want to lose 40 pounds, you go on a diet, you lose 40 pounds. At the end, what do? You go out and celebrate, go to Outback Steakhouse and have a bloomin' onion, and you're on your way back to gaining your weight back. But if your idea is to create long-term health, which is our focus in the Habits of Health and in Take Shape for Life, that focus is to actually continue every day to get just a little bit better. We're all human. We're going to have days when we go sideways. There may be days when actually you gain a little more weight back. But if your overreaching goal is to create health in you, over time, you'll continue to get better. So those things that might have turned you sideways yesterday, now no longer have an effect on you. And by having like-minded people, being in the structure, and structure determines everything. I was on the phone today with Robert Fritz, dear friend and colleague, and we're writing a very comprehensive book on our identity and how important, how we think about ourselves in terms of our ego, how that affects our day-to-day choices, and all these systemic things that are going on. And basically, we were talking about underlying structure. If you create the right structure, one where you're around people who want to get healthy versus people that want to be sick. So if your best 5 friends are all eating chicken wings and drinking kegs of beer while watching football, that's probably not going to be conducive as one of the habits of health. So we're going to work with you to help you now start bringing on more associations with people that actually are focused on creating health. Because in my basically vantage point, when you have your health, you have everything. And I had a dear friend who got very sick several years ago, and I'll never forget, because he was a vibrant 50-year-old man. And he says, you know, that person that says, when you got your health, you got everything, he really nutted it. And I watched this guy who could barely walk across the street to be with his kids. And so bottom line is, what I can tell you is, by making some small adjustments now, starting to become part of what can create health in your life overall, the quality of your life, the discipline in your life, and all the other things will come with time. And then we'll automate those things, and then they're no harder than the things you're doing now.
I don't even know how to follow that up. that's when, and actually it's funny, Dr. A, as you're going through this, the questions are coming in and I'm thinking, oh, well, he just answered that one. Oh, and now he answered that one. You just covered them all before they even ask them.
Cool, that's good.
But here's one that, and the person that sent this in, they didn't say whether or not if they wanted me to just ask the question for them. So the person who asked it, if they want to hop into this conversation, that'd be great. But the question came in, and some of this I think you've already addressed, but maybe you could address this a little more directly. And he said, what can be said to someone who says, they just can't do this because I can't live without, I don't know, fill in the blank, whatever the food is. I can't live without whatever it is that's not on our program during the weight loss phase. What would you say to them?
Well, not to promote my book, but there's a book called Discover Your Optimal Health.
Go for it.
And in the first 7 chapters of that book, it's a great book, because what it actually does is, listen, then I would tell the person, then don't live without it. That's your choice. What the book's about is awakening you to the possibilities of what can happen in your health and in your life. And to know that our story, the story that we have that I can't live without, is really a story. It's not fact. It's not factual at all. I mean, even a heroin addict basically can live without heroin if they make the decision that now they want to move forward and create health in their life. So it doesn't matter what it is. It really matters that we actually awaken to the possibility. We ask ourselves, what do I really want in my life? If I can organize my life around what matters most, what do I want? And so that person that asked that question says, I can't do this because I can't live without that. The question is what they're living that they need, is that creating health for them? And if it's not creating health for them, then bottom line is they might want to start thinking about, if you remember at conference last year, I pulled an 80-foot tape measure out and showed them that every foot is a year of our lives. And our lives, the decisions we make to change our life, basically on average, a male lives to be 80 and a female lives to be 85 years old. So ask yourself where you are in your life. And let's say right now that lady is, I'm just going to say, maybe she's 50. And so she has 35 more years in her life. And the question is, if what she's making a choice that something she can't live without actually has an ill effect on her over time, like, cigarette smoking or eating really fatty food or eating Aegis products where we're eating very charcoal type grilled meats, and all these things create cancers, diabetes, inflammatory disease. There's so many things that they cause. And they're all proven now that over time you keep doing these things. Now, let me just give you the other part of maybe, since I'm only speculating what she's actually asking about. But let's say the person that's thinking, you know what, I need to lose 40 pounds, but on this program it says I can't drink wine. So this is what I would say to him in that situation. If in the next 4 months, 3 to 4 months, we can help you lose that weight, be successful, and once you lose the weight, you could go back and have a glass of wine. And in the Habits of Health, I have a whole chapter. In fact, I went out on my porch and took 4 progressive wine glasses to show how much 4 to 5 ounces of wine was. And I like to drink wine myself. I don't drink it every day, but I enjoy it on times. But I'm also at a healthy weight. I'm getting ready to go helicopter skiing. And so now I'm even being more vigilant because I know how important it is to be in the best shape of my life. So the whole point here is that, and I'm an older guy and I can learn new tricks. And it really comes down to what's more important to you. So for a short period of time, to give up something that allows you to now live healthier for the rest of your life, and by the way, in small amounts, and I don't recommend people that aren't drinking, but people that are drinking should change to red wine because it's got resveratrol and a whole bunch of other phenolic compounds, which may actually have some advantages to our body. But the reality is this: you have to make the decision, what do I want? So I would recommend Discover Your Optimal Health. I think I've got it right here.
There you go. I got it for you, Dr. A.
Very, very, very expensive. And if you can't afford this, then talk to your coach and download the ebook, which is free. I'm not trying to make money here. I'm actually trying to help you create health. And in this book, the first 7 chapters lead you up to making a decision. Am I ready to make a change in my life and to create health? And at the end of that 7th chapter, I actually asked the question, okay, 1 or 3 things here. Yes, you're ready. I'm going to decide. I'm going to go do it. And I'm willing to, for a short period of time or maybe sometimes forever, give up some of the things that are not good for me. Or number 2 is I'm not sure and I need to go back and read this book again. Or number 3, I just plain not going to do it right now. then put the book down, because there's no reason to spend any more time working on it if you're not willing to do the things that are necessary. That's all about choice, and we never want to tell people what to do. We want to awaken them and then guide them to make choices that support what's most important to them.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll let me just throw this in one more time, because I don't mind at all promoing your book for you. And for those of you that are brand new to this call and are not even familiar with Habits of Health, or maybe this is your first time meeting Dr. Anderson, if you talk to whoever invited you on this call, they can help you get connected with this book, or also with the ebook that Dr. A mentioned. Dr. A, I think Lisa Cooper messaged me, said she's got a question. Lisa, can you unmute yourself and go for it? Somewhere she's in here. She's trying to figure out where her mute button is. Okay, maybe we'll go on to the next one, because I'm not finding her right now. Yeah, okay. Let me go on to another one. Let's see. Another one here had said, this is kind of a similar question. Somebody that's kind of struggling with starting over every day, but I think honestly, you've already kind of answered that. It's about focusing in on what they want long term. Anybody else there was some questions here that came in that were really more coach related questions, about product line and so on, that might be more appropriate for us to talk among the coaches. Oh, here's a great one.
Hey, Shirley, this is Lisa.
Yeah. There she is. Go for it, Lisa.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. So, Dr. A, I have a question for you. So, as a health coach, sometimes we have clients that have, 40 pounds, 60 pounds, 100 pounds to lose, and they get about halfway through, and then they start veering off plan, coming back, veering off plan, coming back, and they tell you, I don't think this program is good for me anymore because it's not working. Well, in fact, that it's not working because they're not following the plan. How do you bring those people back to see how important this is, like they remembered it from the beginning?
Yeah, and that's, a lot of these cases of yo-yoing are, and this is not to promote my other book, but it's in the Habits of Health. We spend the first chapter 3 and 4 talking about conflict resolution and underlying structure. And for most people, what they have is they have two structures going on at one time. They have the one structure that desires to get better, and then they have the other structure, for whatever reason, is pulling them back, with self-doubt, some things that are going on in their mind, whether, I've always been bad, I've never been able to lose weight. And those things, the closer we get towards our goal, and people start worrying, being scared, how am I going to make this? Is it going to work? They start losing focus. And that's exactly what it is. It's a loss of focus, Lisa. So what I like to do is, when I have somebody that's halfway there, talk to them and say, sometimes, by the way, you can take a break. It's not saying that you have to do this. I mean, obviously, the ideal way is for the person to stay on the program until they reach a healthy weight, because it's when you're in momentum is generative and you can move through it. If you reach a point for whatever, something happens, there's a change in your life or whatever, and you want to take a break for a week, maybe 2 weeks, but not take a break and go back to all the things you were doing before. So in other words, though, that 1, 2, 3, 4 months of making those right choices, what I always suggest they do during that time period, if you're not going to be in the fat burning state, and for those of you that don't know what that means, it simply means that by using the meal replacements and eating every 3 hours a meal replacement 5 times a day and one healthy lean and green, you will go into a fat burning state where you're starting to lose that visceral fat, which is the belly fat that we have both inside around our organs as well as around our belly. And that weight is what we want to get rid of, because that's the dangerous weight that creates disease, diabetes, inflammatory problems, arthritis, cancers. It goes on and on and on. So we want to get rid of that, and that's an important piece. But bottom line is, if they get to the point where they just need to take a break, we just want to make sure that they don't start reverting back, because if you think about it, and this is in the Habits of Health, we talk about 2 structures. One is an advancing structure, and the other is an oscillating structure. The advancing structure simply means that you're focused on creating health. You stay on that focus. During that period, if you have a period where you just it all.
We lost you, Dr. A. Okay, am I
Am I
the only
back?
one?
Am I
Now
back?
you're back. Welcome back.
Okay, so we want to make sure that during that interim, that hiatus or that little break, that we're focused on eating healthy. So that's why I suggest people go to the healthy eating sections in the Habits of Health, and it talks about the fuelings, where you're still eating every 3 hours and doing really nice, healthy fuelings, and then eating regular balanced meals like lean and greens, and maybe doing 2 or 3 of those a day, and that will keep you pretty much in a stable state. And at the same time, then working with that coach or client to find out, okay, let's focus on all the great things that have happened. Let's reorganize our thought, and then let's go back to work and get back in the fat burning state. So what I want to do is make sure, because some people just get tired or they just need a little break, and that's okay, as long as they understand that it's not that this program isn't working for them. And I want to be very clear on that. It's never the program not working for them, because the Habits of Health is not something I made up where I'm selling you blue-green algae from the bottom of a volcano. It is actually fundamentally done on over 1,000 studies on lifestyle, and it fundamentally addresses the key components that create health and then optimal health in a person's life. So it's not that this program doesn't work for anybody. It works for everybody. It's about standing the course of time, overcoming the challenges, not being unrealistic and moving at a pace that works for you, stretching yourself with your coach, but not making it so you break. So, after 6 months of eating the 5-in-1, you might want to take a break. And Shirley, you might even have some comments on that, right?
Well, it's interesting when you talked about that earlier, Dr. A, about that timeline, and okay, so for a short period of time, you have to give up some things. I did have to give up some things for about 1.5 years, but you saw that before and after picture.
Yeah.
Like it was worth it.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's the other part. It's, the thing about choice, this is what discipline's all about. If everything was equal and we didn't have to make a choice and that was great, then we would be no problem. But what I'm saying by underlying structure is life is all about choices. And what you have to do is put in hierarchy what's more important. So if reaching a healthy weight, being healthy, playing with your grandkids, being able to get on planes, being able to do all the things and be at limited risk, being off medicines, having more energy, those choices are important to you, then you might have to make doing some things you don't want to do. That's what it's about. Sometimes discipline is defined simply as doing some things you don't want to do or not doing some things you do want to do. It comes as simple as that, but doing that because you get some benefits. So one last thing I just want to mention. So let's say something like you love cheeseburgers. And so you want to give up cheeseburgers, but you love them. And you know that give them up is good because eating a cheeseburger every day is waiting for a heart attack to happen. So what if you actually, rather than focused on just the long-term benefit, if you focused on what's the immediate benefit? So what I would ask you, and I'm using this as an example, and it applies maybe even to what the lady can't give up. And a lot of times that's wine or alcohol or sugar or candy or fast food or any of those things. Do that. Next time you do that, because you got to have it, okay, take a mental note, maybe a picture of yourself and maybe what you're doing and maybe how you're talking, how you're thinking, and how you're operating. And then a half an hour after you eat that, whatever that is, whether it's the sugary substance, whether it's the cheeseburger, whether it's the drink, and then look and ask how you feel after that. And if it's alcohol and you do it in the evening, how do you feel in the morning? And then, so if you really start to realize that there are immediate reasons for giving up some things, and then there's long-term reasons for giving up things, and you put those together, because we do much better when we see the benefit of immediate gains. And that's actually very well documented. If I gave you, everybody in the audience, if I gave you $100 now or told you next year this time I'd give you $200, which would you take? Everybody would take $100. Well, not everybody. You wouldn't, Shirley, because you're on the way to success. But most people would take $100 now, even though they would have double their money next year. And you can't put $100 in a savings account and get $200 by next year. So don't tell me you're going to invest it. and you're probably going to play the lottery with it and lose it all. So the bottom line, $200 next year is better. Same thing with your health. If in certain areas where you're struggling, think about what are the long-term benefits, and then what are the immediate benefits of doing it versus not doing it, and then decide to move forward. And use your coach, use the system, use the underlying structure, and decide what's most important, because life is all about choices.
It is.
Yep.
It is. You know, here's the dilemma, Dr. A, and I knew this is what we were going to run into. Once people started asking questions, I've got a bazillion fabulous questions, and we are
one great one for me to leave on. Find the best one, just pick out which one sticks out, and I'll do one to close up.
Actually, this one's different than what we've done, than what a lot of them are about, like people that are getting stuck or off track or whatever. This one was actually a good one, and if the person who asked it wants to jump in on this, feel free. But he wanted to have you address what stress does to our health over time.
It's terrible. In fact, in 2003, independently, Harvard University came out with a univariate analysis that showed that stress by itself caused heart attacks. And that's independent of all other factors. That was the first study. So what that's saying is stress causes heart attacks. So the bottom line is stress is very difficult on our body. We were designed, and again, I go back to 10,000 years ago, because you have to look at how we started on this planet and where we are now on this planet. And our world is very different, and yet our genetics have changed very little in that 10,000 years. So a lot of things that served us well with our initial design don't serve us so well now. And that stress is one of them. Stress was a powerful mechanism of fight and flight when we were surrounded by threats and dangers. Today, every day, because we don't use that. And by the way, when a saber-toothed tiger stressed you out, you ran really quick and you ate up all those neurochemicals, all that epinephrine and norepinephrine and cortisol. You ate those up, and those things were released to protect you so you could run faster, you could handle it, and you could repair your cells. The reality is today we get those little mini bursts of saber-toothed tigers 20, 30, 40 times a day, and it raises havoc on us. It creates poor sleep. It creates inflammation. It creates cancers. It creates cardiovascular disease, diabetes. All these things are a direct result. Now, here's the cool thing. McConaughey, who is one of the leading neuroscientists on stress, is showing that if we work with a coach and we work within the system, and in the next version of the Habits Health, which I'm working on now, we're going to really talk about how you can harness some aspects of stressful situations and actually make them productive for you. If we know in certain situations, you're like, for instance, Shirley, when you're getting ready to give a speech from stage, I know you get a little stressed. So now I can work with you and have you in that speech actually take that stress response and actually use it to create more mental clarity and to have you perform at a higher level. So what we're saying, and the answer to most of these questions are, hey, listen, we don't have all the answers, but we are focused on finding those answers, on working together, on being there for each other, to be great examples, and to work to create long-term health. And so I want to thank you so much for having me on the Habits of Health call. Clearly, I love what we're doing, and I love you're a great model, and you, along with the coaches that help on these calls, are really important for our success, because people learn by reading, they learn by doing, they learn by modeling, and they learn by being part of a community where they get that support. And all aspects of that are critical, not just for short-term success, but to get all those people that are over that fear of dieting. This is not a diet. This is simply awakening you, changing your orientation, making health a focus, and then teaching you over time to be great at generating long-term and then hopefully over time optimal health. So thank you so much for having me on the call. Excited for being here.
Dr. A, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the call. We maxed out the call, and we have, again, my apologies to all the people who wrote in fantastic questions that we just simply couldn't get to. Maybe at some point in the future, possibly we can have you come back.
Sure,
Thank you so much
for
taking the time to be on.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Well, just in closing this out, y'all, and I have a sneaky suspicion there's going to be a lot of people listening to this recording later, because we did totally max out the call. So apologies to those of you that weren't able to get on this call, but we'll have the recording available. And for those of you that are looking for more Habits of Health support call recordings, if you go to your health coach's website or connect with the person who helped you get on this call, click on Tools and Support, And then on weekly support calls, you'll not only find archives for this call, but also for our doctor's call and for our nurse's call. Now, we are already overlapping. I apologize to the doctors that we're overlapping with this evening, but just to let those of you who are new to our support calls know what's available. The doctor's call immediately follows this. Now, this call is not just for doctors. It is hosted by a doctor. So this gives you an opportunity to ask a question of a physician. We also have nurses' calls, again, hosted by registered nurses on Monday evenings. So the doctor's call is Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. The nurses' call is on Mondays at 8:30 Eastern. You can access both of those calls with the same phone number now. Hooray to the home office for making that really simple for us. So if you're trying to access the doctor's call now, it is 712-832-8330, and then enter PIN number 436-6777. The Habits of Health call is now always hosted at this same Zoom link. So come back here again next week. We would love to see you back. And thanks so much for taking the time to be on the call this evening. Have a great evening and a healthy week.